Welcome to another edition of the Scruffy Ginger Podcast. I'm your host and your Scruffy Ginger, Matt Graves. This is episode 4. I realize that I'm getting pretty terrible, or rather I have been pretty terrible as far as listing which episode number it was previously. But this is episode 4. I'll get better at that. And I'm super excited to give you guys some updates on what's to come in the next weeks. In the next coming weeks, we've got my buddy Ryan coming on board, talking Browns. Week 1, the Titans play them week 1 in Cleveland, which should be a super exciting game given the fact of how much hype is surrounding Cleveland at this time. And I'll leave all of my thoughts on that for that conversation, which should happen in the next few days or so. It's now Sunday the 1st. It's September, also known as Matt Graves' birthday week, so super excited about that. Then we got my buddy Lucas coming on for week 2, talking Colts, which is a super relevant topic right now, especially for the AFC South. We'll dive into that here in a minute. And we've got some more guests coming up. I can't really figure out what I want to do for week 3 when we play the Jags, who I despise with pretty much everything in me. I don't know if there's anything in this world I hate more than the Jags. So that'll be interesting. I'm thinking I'm going to invade some of their Jags fan pages if there are such a thing. And, I'll just post something, hey, I'm, recording a pod. I'm a Titans guy. Let's talk football. And hopefully they won't have any idea who I am. They definitely don't know who I am. But hopefully they don't listen to any of the podcasts before, so they don't know how much I hate the Jags. And we'll go from there. Hopefully we'll have some fun, get everyone riled up a little bit, just a little healthy tension in the room or over the phone. That's probably what it will be unless I can find someone here in Knoxville. So anyways, super excited about that. That's a little short snippet of kind of where we're going in the next couple of weeks. Now, biggest news in the division, really all of football. Hold on, give me 1 second. Take a little sip. Today's podcast is unofficially brought to you by Tailgate's Peanut Butter Milk Stout. If you're thinking, that sounds gross, you're gross. It's amazing. I personally have experienced one of my buddies, Thomas, who might be on later in the podcast talking Bengals. He thought it sounded like the grossest thing in the world. Turns out he realized that he was pretty gross for not drinking this sooner, and it's one of his favorite beers to date. I made up that last bit, but I can imagine it's pretty darn close to it. So, let's talk about the biggest news in the AFC South. Andrew fucking Luck. Now, there's a lot of things and a lot of ways that you could think that I would go right now. Well, when I first found out, I thought I was being pranked. Legitimately, that team tends to be a common thread in my adult life is being pranked. So, that's what I thought this was. And when I realized it wasn't, not going to lie, I was sitting down in a chair. I stood up, started shouting, picked up the chair, started shaking it above my head. I looked like a lunatic, and that's totally fine with me. I was super pumped. And I think every Titans fan should be pumped for several reasons. One, the division just opened up. I mean, as much as I would love to say that we are the favorites, and some might think that we are the favorites to win the division, I being one of them, Adam Rank not being one of them. If you listen to previous episode 3, we dive into his stupidity and how he still has a job with NFL Network is beyond me. I guess they like the clickbait stuff. So he made a very irrational, immature, not scholarly comment about the Titans' record next year. So, anyways, listen to episode 3. You'll figure out how I feel about that. Another thing that people are going to bring up, especially with Titans fans, I expect this to be brought up in almost all of my interviews, is that, the fact that we never beat Andrew Luck. And it's true. When he started the game, we never beat him. Now, some of you might think that it's a bummer that I now have to, now that I just realized that that'll never happen. But then I slept on it. I woke up and I realized nobody cares about that stat. Nobody cares. Not anymore. Andrew Luck's retired. So that automatically is no longer relevant. And now we can go on and win the division just as we had planned, with or without Andrew Luck. It just got a little bit easier. So, no, I don't care. And I don't think it was a legitimate analyst. I think it was just one of my buddies talking how he wouldn't be surprised if once Tom Brady retired that Andrew Luck was recruited by the Patriots. There's so many reasons why that's not going to happen. One, Andrew Luck has already been very honest about how the fact that he doesn't care about the money. Money was not the issue. He went into this thinking that he was going to lose, what was it, $20 million, something like that? And then it was $50 million just for showing up on week 1. The numbers don't really matter. It was tens of millions of dollars that he knew that he was going to be losing. And the Colts decided to give him the money anyways, or at least the money that he was already given up until that point. They let him keep it. So, you could say that they did the right thing. Whatever. I mean, the dude is clearly soft. It's funny hearing, me saying that coming from someone that has never played professional football. Listen, I know he's been through a lot of injuries. I know that that has taken a toll mentally on him. If he can't go out on Sunday and perform at 100% and give the fans what they want, give his teammates what they want, his coaches what they want, then you should retire. I mean, as a fan, I don't want anyone on the Titans to feel like they're a hindrance of any kind, so if you're not in it, you're not in it. You shouldn't play anymore. So I think the Colts actually did the right thing and, paid him what he had honestly deserved, being one of the top QBs in the league for so long. Am I glad that we don't have to face him anymore? Sure. I mean, twice a year, when you play your division teams twice a year, yeah, you don't hope that they're bad because you want to, make everyone better. With the exception of the Jags, they always make everybody worse because of how pitiful they are. So, anyways, whole Andrew Luck thing, big news. Me and Lucas are going to dive further into it. Let's get a Colts fans' perspective. I've already spoken on the phone with him, but we'll save some of the details for the pod later. A little sip. Now, other news in the AFC South. Let's start with the Jags. They didn't really do a whole lot, and that's 100% expected. So, there's that. Done. Jags, conversation over with. It's not that you blew any chance. You didn't have a chance to begin with. So, you didn't capitalize. As I said, is expected. The Colts, we already talked about it. Andrew Luck, blah, blah, blah. Other than that, not a ton to note. Nothing super pressing. The Texans, though. The Texans did a lot in the last 48 hours or however long it's been. In the past week, they've done a ton. Now, Jadeveon Clowney has been on the trading block for several weeks, if not a month, maybe longer. And it was always, kind of skeptical where he would land. I know the Titans were a potential landing spot for him, and he decided to go with Seattle, or rather the Seahawks went after him, whatever. It was a mutual agreement. One of the biggest things that was in the agreement is that the Seahawks cannot franchise tag him after this first year. I know that the Texans, he was due like $15 million. The Texans paid $7 million of it, and the Seahawks are picking up the remaining $8 million, which I would, I guess that's fair. To be quite honest, I don't really know what the Texans got in return for that trade. I don't remember it being anybody substantial or anyone really of note. I'm sure it was a player that's good that nobody knows who it is, but or maybe it was for draft picks. So I feel like it was for draft picks. I should have those notes in front of me, but I don't really care. It's the Texans. So, so after that trade, you think, okay, your blockbuster deal is done. Them, just like every other team, is whittling down to the 53-man roster. And all of a sudden, my phone keeps blowing up that the Texans are making all these fucking moves with the Dolphins. Now, I'm actually loving this deal as a Titans fan. The Texans sold the fucking farm for players that they're good, but they're not as good as what they gave away. So the Texans got Laramie Tunsil, who, as we know, famously was the video of him smoking some heavy stuff with the gas mask on. It was just a video that leaked on the draft day, like, what was it, an hour before the draft started? I mean, you could say that's not ideal for your draft when you're the who was up first? Oh, I forget. It doesn't matter. So, anyways, they got Laramie Tunsil, Kenny Stills, good receiver. Kind of confusing when Will Fuller seems to be a very comparable player. And then the Texans gave up, I believe it was a cornerback and an offensive lineman that no one really knows who they are yet or will. So, okay, you think you get Laramie Tunsil, offensive lineman. You could say he's a stud. I don't know. It's kind of hard to really tell at this point. He's still super young in his career. Who the fuck is texting me? So you got Laramie Tunsil, Kenny Stills, whatever. They gave up a 2020 first-round pick, a 2020 second-round pick, pretty sure, and a 2021 first-round pick. They got like a third and a sixth back or something like that. You gave away your next 2 years' first-round picks and your next year's second-round pick. What the fuck are you doing, Houston? I mean, I'm loving it. That's more for us. And that's less good players that you're going to acquire over the next couple of years. But that seems like a bonehead move. Now, I mean, I guess they're trying to send a message to their team and fans that they're going for it this year. They see Andrew Luck being out as the window they needed to move forward. And I guess they're going for it. I don't think that the weapons that they got is what's going to get them there. I think Hopkins and Fuller are good enough receivers. Hopkins is a great receiver to get you enough wins to the playoffs. Your defense is good. I just don't see it. I think the Texans made a bad move. I don't like that Clowney made it very clear that he didn't want to be in Miami, so I guess they just try to find the best spot for him and I guess get as much as they can that they could out of it. So there's that. You know what? I feel like I should look up what the Jadeveon Clowney trade was because I feel like they might have gotten a first-round pick out of it. Hold on, give me 1 second. Jadeveon Clowney. Jadeveon Clowney trade. Here we go. The Texans didn't get a lot back. This was a quote from the article. Didn't get a lot back for the exchange of the 3-time Pro Bowl pass rusher, with sources saying they received the Seahawks' 2020 third-round pick as well as an outside linebacker, Barkevius Mingo and Jacob Martin. Mingo and Martin have arrived. Okay, so Mingo, I believe he went to LSU. Okay, he's good, but not what you would think or hope for in a Jadeveon Clowney trade. So Texans made a lot of noise, but that's just what it is at the end of the day. It's just noise. So, we'll see what happens with them. I don't think it's going to be a ton. Now on to the only team that really matters in the AFC South is the Tennessee Titans. Now, 53-man roster. Every team is trying to trim it down. A lot of players made a lot of noise in the preseason, but we are now here with what we've got with the 53-man roster. We'll take a sip break. Okay, not a whole lot of big noise on the offense. We did trade away Taywan Taylor to the Browns, and that's a good pickup for the Browns if I'm concerned. I think we got a 7th-round pick in return next year, which, it's whatever. You can always find some people deep in the draft. I think that move was coming for the Titans. You look at A.J. Brown coming up in the ranks and drafted 2nd overall last year. He's performed well in the preseason and just, with the Titans offseason programs. And so I just think that he's going to do well. And they wanted to move on from Taywan, let AJ move into that 4th receiver situation. The depth chart, again, nothing's really changed, especially on defense. The only person that's new that's starting now is, I looked this up earlier. It's Brent Urban, I believe, defensive end. Now, he was not part of the team last year. He was a part of Dean Pease's Baltimore defense a couple years ago, and that's obviously how we knew him. That's why we picked him up. Dean saw some value there, and but he's I believe it was 6'7", 300-pound player. So I'll take it. Haven't heard of you, but I'm sure I'll know your name and everything about you very soon. That sounded pretty creepy, but we're gonna move on. Defense, outside of that, everything is pretty much the same, which is super. It's just great for the defense. One, because there's continuity there with the coaching staff and the players. The language is the same. They don't have to relearn anything. It's just an overall better environment for our players, and that'll be super exciting to see how they all transition into year 2 and. Now, knowing they won't have to think as much when the plays are called, they can just play with instinct, and they can rely on their eyes more than they can their heads as to where they think they might go. They can just know they can read the offense and go from there and make some plays. So, offensive depth chart, Not a whole lot. One of the players that I think people thought we were going to keep at the running back position, McNichols. He was part of the preseason game where he went high up over the defense into the end zone, made that leaping touchdown. Now, again, I mean, he's played well, so I think people just kind of automatically assumed that we were going to try to find a spot for him. But we ended up waiving him, and we decided to keep Dalen Dawkins, who fucking went off against the Bears. I think it was 14 touches for 100. I think it was 117 yards and 2 receiving touchdowns. That's going to earn you a spot. I mean, he's going to play special teams more than likely. He's the 4th string running back, but I feel like he's going to be someone good just to have in case the worst happens with Henry or Dion or Fluellen. So, anyways, other than that, it's Corey Davis, Adam Humphries, and Tajay at the receiver position. Delaney Walker, of course, manning the tight end spot. And, the offensive line, I mean, of course, Taylor Lewan, his appeal was shot down, to say the least. He will be out the first 4 games of the year, which, I mean, you look at it, Browns, Colts, Jags. I think we go Falcons after that. I think so. Either way, I mean, those are some crucial games, 2 divisional games that you would want him to be there. But Dennis Kelly is going to step up. He's a good tackle, and he's done a lot of good for us in the past couple of years. So I'm not happy that it's him over Lewan, but there's a level of comfort there that Titans fans can just be in with him there, kind of manning the left tackle position. Mariota, obviously our starter. Tannehill is one of those players that I'm glad he's on our team. If something were to happen to Mariota, and it just seems like something always happens to Mariota, I'm glad that he's our backup. When we finally have a backup that has only been a starter, I don't know if he's ever been a backup before. So he's only known that role and that mentality. And if something happens to Mariota, he's going to be ready. So, excuse me. But yeah, that's really it for this pod. I just wanted to kind of give some updates on where we're going now that the season is approaching. It's the first. I mean, Thursday night this week is Packers-Bears, and I'm super excited just for everything to be back, for football to be back, and obviously for the Titans taking on the Browns week 1. I would just love nothing more to walk into Cleveland and shut them up. Like, shut the fucking dog pound up and hand them an L with their first week of the season. I think that's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. I'm going to be watching it with Ryan. Ryan will be on the pod. I'm going to be watching it with him at his house with some other people. We're going to be either having pizzas or cooking out or something. And I'm sure I'll film just some stuff on Instagram, just kind of keep things light and kind of give a kind of a real life shot of kind of what we're feeling and how the day in the game's going. I might be the one with my head in my hands, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, anyways, super excited. Again, we got Ryan coming on. We have Lucas coming on after that. Jags, no one cares, but I'll figure it out. But yeah, just kind of recap. I mean, Andrew Luck is retired from the NFL. The Texans sold the farm for really nothing quality. The Jags are the Jags. They're stagnant, and they've done pretty much nothing. They're looking to extend someone's contract. That's it. Cool. Good job, man. Good job. You've made your fan base proud, and you should be happy for yourself. Get used to your... I was going to give you the benefit of the doubt and give you a 2-win season, but I don't see it. I don't see it happening. I don't see one game. I've looked at your schedule. Zeros, L's across the entire board. So with that being said, thank you again for listening. Super excited and glad and honestly just honored that you have taken the time to follow me on this journey. And I'll get better. I'll continue to get better. I think having two people doing a multi-interview or just multi-person podcast is going to be really beneficial. I think you'll see a lot more of me and my personality come out. So, but, we're learning the craft. We're going to keep doing solo pods as well just to make sure that, just to keep improving. Each episode's going to get better and better. So if you don't like this one, stay tuned to next week. And hopefully you'll like that one better once I get more comfortable with just everything. So with that being said, thank you again for listening. And remember, if you're not first, that's okay, because neither are the Jags. Peace.